Hello, and thanks for joining us today. I'm joined by my guest, Mr. Paul Conway of Yuno. How are you doing?
I'm not bad, my friend. Not bad. Thanks for asking. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. We're in a new year. We sort of
Yeah.
get to that awkward point in January where you can no longer say Happy New Year to somebody.
Is that
But
past? Is it?
I think so. We're sort of midway through, but I'm going to tell you, I want you to have a great year ahead, and we're going to learn. We're going to learn how helps agents in the year ahead to manage some really important compliance issues, but also to generate new business. Now, that's not an arena that we've previously seen you step into, but that is very much where your product's going. And I'd like to talk to you about that if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. No problem at all. We have taken a bit of a curveball there.
It's a great curveball because it doesn't matter what problem you solve as a prop tech supplier. Agents always have a universal problem, and that's always how to generate more business. So will never say no. That's for sure. Um, Paul, for those agents out there that haven't yet had the sort of pleasure of interacting with you and learning a little bit about tell us where it came from, what the concept was initially, and how it's kind of evolved to where we are today.
Yeah, sure, certainly, no problem at all. Yeah, so or Unona, as the word came from a Japanese word, under competent and able, and it's something that really kind of spoke to us when we ran our consultancy business, of making sure that actually everybody was qualified, experienced, and accredited to look after our clients. And then Uno was born out of that complexity that is ensuring that your PMs and branch managers, the property manager and branch managers, etc., have the right skills at their fingertips to answer all these complex questions that we solve. And essentially, that's what brought us into the digital product of and we can do that in lots of different ways. So essentially, we have a data science team that aggregate lots of complex licensing and planning data and put it onto one place. And then we have a really pretty kind of dynamics lettings platform that makes that kind of advice to landlords easier. And obviously, that changed now that we can actually use that to attract these landlords closer to us, so that our agents can essentially look after landlords in their area better and hopefully become the super agent of the area looking after these landlords.
So it is a really nice. I mean, you and I, we spoke just before Christmas, I think, and one of the things that we were chatting about is that you can actually sort of use this product as a value add. So you sort of give it to your clients to interact with, in the hope actually that not only will they sort of use it for the properties that you know about, but also start to use it for the properties that perhaps you don't yet manage or you've not yet got your hands on. And so therefore, Stephen Brown, I don't know if you know him, but he's an industry trainer, and he has a magic question that he asks every single person. He gets into a taxi or he goes into a shop and they say, "Oh, what sort of business are you in?" And he says, "Property." He would always ask them a magic question. He said, "Well, do you own any property?" And they normally tell you about one or two. And when they tell you about that property, or when you go to visit somebody in their home, his magic question is this your only property, or is it part of a larger business empire? And people always, it makes you laugh. They're
It's the
laughing.
flatter. It's the flattery, isn't it,
It
behind it?
makes you giggle. But you know what? Somebody says, actually, yeah, I've also got my mum's house that I now rent out, and my girlfriend bought something, and we've got that managed. And you'd be surprised that just by sort of pushing a little bit more, it's a conversation we don't have too much. So having that conversation can actually be awkward, and it's a very direct way of questioning. But you guys offer something that adds value to them, lets them sort of get essential information about their properties, and more importantly, perhaps compliance issues as well, but also then allows you as the agent to see what it is that they've got, and perhaps you start a conversation about new business.
Yeah, you summed it up really well, and it kind of came from that that conversation. So it's a very British thing not to delve too much into these conversations, or if you get a little bit of kickback. But essentially, if it starts from a place of value, and we're not talking about one single article, or we're not talking about some sort of marketing spin behind anything. It's essentially saying that as an agent in this area, I want to look after the landlords within my area. So therefore just giving that little bit of value. And it's not the full lettings journey, it's not a full management journey. It's essentially monitoring that property's compliance, looking at the rental yields and sales values, etc., and kind of bringing that in so that the landlord has access to these critical parts. And essentially landlords care about two things. You mentioned what agents care about. Landlords care about two things: is can I get more money out of my property, and am I going to go to jail, or is it going to cost me lots of money? And essentially we started off over in this camp and protecting agents against this, this risk, this complex risk. And essentially now we're like, okay, how can we look after landlords? But we're not a landlord direct product. So how can we get our agents, help our agents support those agents to support the landlords in the area and essentially build them closer to them? So yeah, they add a single property for the landlord, maybe they've got on their books as a let only, or they just know the landlord, etc. Of course, they can use Yuno for the property management function, what we have always been doing, making sure that they're compliant. But how can you offer that extra bit of value to those landlords, the network, the let-only clients, the extended landlords, see what else is in their portfolio? So yeah, that's what we've called it.
It is a superb way. You just touched on it there. It's a superb way of getting that rare mythical beast, the let-only landlord, become a managed landlord. Is a very difficult task, and a lot of agents try to do that by scaring the landlord. Effectively, you say to them, look, do you know there's any number of 100 things that can go wrong legislation wise? This is really tricky. You want to keep on top of it. And I've seen agents make landlords sign huge disclaimers if they're taking a let only thing. And the hope is that the landlord looks at that and goes, I'm not signing that. It looks like I'm signing my life away. And then you're using fear to make somebody sort of enter into a managed service, which, to be honest, is not really the best sales process. And also, it doesn't make that landlord feel any better. But I think actually, if you put the landlord in that driving seat, allow him to interact with Yuno, really get them to understand that actually there is more to compliance than just making sure that you've got some new batteries in your smoke alarm. Then if you can get that message across in a nice, gentle way where you're adding value, then that relationship with that client and that conversion from let only to manage is likely to sort of be less bitter, and it's going to stick a lot better. So I see this as a huge win for agents.
Yeah, we've got a starting a little group of agents that are working with us just now that are pushing it out to their landlords, getting a lot of feedback. So yeah, they're really happy with it. So that's why we want to offer it to the larger market. And essentially, that's what it is. It's that. Spoke to a lot of agents in different, as you know, like different kind of schools of thought and how to get things across the line, etc., etc. But this is like a strong value add approach. It's only a few pound a property per year. Like you're pulling that landlord closer to you with value, and that's an easier conversation. And again, you're not delivering all these things verbally and scaring them and maybe, etc., etc. It's like, here's the value on the platform, here's the sales, here's the rentals, here's what you can achieve, this is what the problems could be in your way, and makes it like a bespoke little journey that it takes them through. So you're delivering that without having that negative fear conversation. And I know it works. I mean, essentially as a business, we've always tried to stay away from too much fear, but like whenever we've done any sort of marketing, if there is a scary story, it's that gets clicked. And two puppies and cats saved from a tree never gets clicked.
But what is it about going to jail that people don't like, Paul? I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But seriously, this is the world, unfortunately, that we live in terms of the way that the letting space has evolved over the past 10 years. The biggest difference has got to be legislation, and has got to be the sort of hoops that agents jump through. I think the net benefits for tenants are probably better because hopefully there's a better standard of accommodation out there, but it presents challenges for landlords and agents because their income has been chipped away, through various different changes to both taxes and also legislation. So I see this as being a hugely positive step in the right direction, that if you've got a product that allows you as an agent to add value and say, look, you know, I'm not trying to scare you, but please interact with this, use it, and by all means use it for your other properties as well if you wish. We'll keep in touch. And it's really, that is one of its key principles, really. It's a really good way, because you can see who's interacting with the product. It's a good way of keeping in touch with those clients. A lot of agents, if they fall down on something, it's not having a keep in touch policy, because, you know, once you've taken the money, it's gone, out of sight, out of mind. But if you can regularly find a way to reach out to that client, this might just be that way. I've sold it to myself, you know, Paul.
I think the key to it is exactly that. It's that kind of that data sharing. So the landlord has been given some value. They've not been pressured into something. They're adding the rest of the portfolio because they want to do that. Any kind of trigger points that come off of that, so like a new property is added or something's changing that's going to affect that landlord's portfolio, that trigger goes to the landlord and to the partner agent. So they have those talking, oh, I see you've just added a new property, or I see that this is actually coming up. You actually want to look at that. We're looking after our managed clients for this as well, but I see you've got that trigger as well coming through. Let's have a chat if you want to, if not. And at the end of every kind of all the journeys, there's always a little section that says sales, property management and lettings, and essentially all their offer is at the end of every single Yuno journey. So the partner's brand as well as their services are at the end of every single Yuno journey. So yeah, we call that, what we've just described there, is something called attract and earn. And then we also have, you can integrate it to your website. So when landlords interact with it, it creates a lead direct from your website and sends it to our clients. And then the last one, which is kind of the biggest thing that's coming in, which is called sponsor a landlord. So essentially we have a lot of landlords that come to us. We're offering a whole new version of Yuno for free. And new things are going to be launched in that pretty soon, and we'll do a bit of PR behind it to make sure everybody knows what we're offering. And essentially the sponsor of landlords, when landlords come to us, we can offer them out to our partner agents based on postcode district, and essentially allow them to sponsor landlords that are through our system. Again, these landlords are not our clients. We're not looking for landlords for clients, but we are looking to support these landlords with our partner agents and our sponsor agents within specific areas.
It's a superb idea, and like I said at the beginning, anything that sort of leads to further leads for agents, if it's generating business and it allows you to have conversations with potential clients, that's what this game is all about. It's the best thing that you could do. I was going to ask you what you've got planned for 2022, but it sounds like you've got plenty coming up. Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled to hear this, and it's great to see the evolution of what was already a great product, but become a little bit more focused now in some key areas. You know, generating business for new landlords is something that is harder than it is generating sales leads sometimes. And I think it's something in our industry that gets overlooked all too often. And so I think anything that adds value in that way and that can actually generate potential landlords leads is worth its weight in gold. So
yeah, the value in the business is the value in your business is that lettings arm. That's what's going to give you that recurring revenue. That's what's going to give you that value. So yeah, that's the kind of key part that we are looking at. So how we can add that long-term value, and as we add long-term value to agents, it's long-term value to the landlords as well. It's that kind of long-term relationship that you're trying to pull together with the landlords and agents, not this like quick hit marketing stuff. It's essentially like, how can you build value for them, and that will build value in your business over time. Yeah, and as you say, for 2022, we have the sponsor a landlord. We have a massive freemium version that's going out there to attract landlords and for agents as well, which we'll release shortly. And essentially, the reason behind that is because essentially there's a lot of issues that are in the property market right now. Landlords are struggling, agents are struggling. That's affecting things like the NHS as well, that poor housing conditions, licensing, and all the complexity that we cover essentially is a strong factor behind improving, or it's causing hurdles towards improving the quality of housing, but it is obviously the legal process to get towards that. So if we can make it easier, and through our sponsored agents helping landlords as well, we're going to offer some of our product for free. They're going to offer the rest of it for free to landlords, and hopefully that'll help get the property market better, and ultimately maybe put some reduced stress on the NHS as these poor housing conditions affect the NHS. So that's exactly how we're trying to look at it from a business. It's like, what can we offer? What can our partners offer, and what can we help the industry with? So that's how it comes from.
It's a really sort of good way of looking at it. We're not just generating income, but sort of adding social value there as well to making things move along, because these things are all connected. Absolutely superb, Paul. Really nice to catch up with you and to learn about what Yuno are doing. Any agents that are interested in interacting with Yuno, get in touch. 10 minutes with Paul, I promise, will improve your life in 2022, improve your prospecting chances as well with landlords, and keep you on top of your compliance. I think that would be at the top of my wish list. So, Paul, it's been lovely to catch up with you.
Thanks, really appreciate it. Speak to you soon.